Well, good evening, everyone. I'm student meteorologist Daniela Strini, and welcome to Tuesday night's edition of FSU Weather. I'm so excited I get to do my own show tonight for the first time ever. But look at this sunset across Doak Campbell Stadium that's starting to form. We're in those upper 50s right now. Breeze from the south about 11 miles an hour that just updated, but mostly sunny skies throughout today. You saw this morning very, very cold compared to what it has been the past several days. So temperatures, however, slightly warmed up throughout this afternoon, staying in those mid to upper 50s across the Big Bend in South Georgia, 59 in Quincy, 54 in Tallahassee, and 50 down there in Perry. So a little bit of a mix of low to high 50s this afternoon. And expect that warming trend to continue. Spring warmth is expected to come back into this weekend, but also this persistent dryness is going to mean elevated fire danger for the Big Bend and for the entire southeast. And I'll show you your sky of the week, so make sure to stay tuned here on FSU Weather. Well, welcome back, guys. Again, that sunset across Doak Campbell is looking very beautiful with those hues of oranges and blues across Tallahassee. Again, not really hardly a cloud in the sky besides those upper level cirrus clouds. You might see those wisps in the background, again, sitting in those mid 50s. But other than some of those high level clouds, we are staying pretty dry. No chances of rain across the region. We're staying consistent and kind of boring, I would say, but it's a clear and beautiful day, I would say. And in terms of temperatures right now, we are staying below average in terms of our high and low temperatures. We even were nearing record lows this morning. We had a low of 26 compared to 24 degrees back in 1964. So quite the turnaround compared to last week when we were knocking on record highs. Now we're knocking on the door of record lows and staying below average in terms of our high temperatures. So a little bit of a Florida weather whiplash was the headline we keep seeing around the past couple of weeks, but those low to mid 50s are persistent across the entire Big Bend and South Georgia. A little bit of those blues peeking through down at the coast, but overall staying mostly mild and green. Those temperatures will again drop throughout the night. So a little bit of passing clouds going into tomorrow morning, but those cold temperatures will persist. We may have a stray shower or two going into Wednesday and Thursday, and that will begin to increase towards the latter half of your work week. So we see again more of those pop-up showers throughout the area. Not everyone will see rain, just a light shower or two, and nothing drought busting, unfortunately, as we still are under an extreme drought for the entire Big Bend and South Georgia, in all of Middle Georgia as well, also in that severe drought. So much of us are really in need of some rain, and we're hoping that the springtime showers will bring that to us at some point, but those rain chances are still staying pretty scarce around the Tallahassee area. You're seeing our biggest chance between Thursday and Friday, and then immediately dropping right back off into the next 7 days. So that's going to be our greatest rain chance, and not a whole lot of rain can be anticipated, maybe a quarter, half an inch in some places, depending on where you are. But walking your furry friend tomorrow morning, make sure to bundle up if you're out really early, especially before the sun rises. We're going to have some of those cooler temperatures in the low 40s, maybe even upper 30s in some spots, and maybe layer up a little bit. But throughout the day, later on in the morning, that sun will peek out, and it will be a pretty comfortable 50s and 60s tomorrow morning. To make sure maybe get a hoodie or a long sleeve shirt, and it'll be quite nice outside to go walk your dog. But for tonight, we're going to see those 50s along the coast, upper 40s, and slightly colder as we go inland. So we see those lower 40s up into South Georgia, Tallahassee, maybe even seeing those upper 30s. So that is the consistent trend for tonight. And then for tomorrow, those temperatures on either side of 70, seeing 69 in St. Mark, 74 in Quincy. So it's going to be a very comfortable spring-like day going into your Wednesday tomorrow. It's going to be quite nice. I'm excited for lots of sunshine going in for the rest of the week, except for Friday. That's going to be your next biggest rain chance, with the exceptions of a few showers on Thursday. But again, you see, we just had a low temperature in the 20s this morning, but tomorrow is going to be the last of that cold, as we're going to continue to see a ramp up in our lows and high temperatures, even knocking on the doors again of 80 degrees going into next week, but lots of sunshine to go around. And as we broaden our look, we're going to take a look into the southeast. Again, we see those upper level clouds across the region. You see all right here, those are upper level cirrus clouds, no precipitation associated with them, but just just nice, pretty little wispy clouds up in the sky to see, but a lot of us are seeing dry and sunnier conditions across the southeast, and quite the temperature gradient as well. Even seeing 66 in Shreveport and 49 in Nashville, 41 in Charlotte. So we're starting to see that warm air starting to creep its way back into the region. Those northern areas, however, still more fortunate on that cooler weather, but a lot of us are very dry. So dew points for many of us are in the teens, especially as you get farther north. Atlanta, dew point of 16, and that moisture slowly creeping its way back into the region. But a lot of this is ingredients for some elevated fire danger, which we all need to be on the lookout for, especially because rain is going to be hit or miss for many of us going into the next couple of days. But as we move into the mid to late week, we will see a low pressure system starting to form in the mid-Atlantic, bringing some moisture into the Tennessee Valley and into the Carolinas, and that line will continue to extend down, and some of these areas can see some isolated heavy showers to thunderstorms, and as this line continues to develop throughout Friday and into Saturday, that's where we can start seeing those chances of rain continue to elevate into our weekend. But however, rain chances are going to be quite different, quite the variation depending on where you are. Those places in Mississippi and central Alabama and North Georgia are going to see closer to over half an inch, maybe even over an inch of rain, but many other places are going to see quarter to half an inch if they're fortunate enough, but nothing drought busting either for the southeast unless you're in those isolated regions in Alabama or Georgia. Mississippi, a little bit on the luckier side, not as bad in the drought. But again, Charlotte this weekend, the biggest chance of rain going into your Thursday, but those temperatures are going to stay consistent in the low to mid 60s. In those lows in the morning in those 50s to upper 40s, but sunshine going into your weekend. Atlanta, cloudy start for your day tomorrow. Chances of showers and thunderstorms going into Thursday, but a nice clearing in those spring-like temperatures back on the board for your weekend. So any outdoor events would be a great time to enjoy going into this weekend. Memphis, much of the same story. That rain's going to come a little earlier, however, going into tomorrow. Cloudy skies expected for your Thursday, but plenty of sunshine to go around, even a high of 76 going into Memphis on Saturday. But for tonight, we're going to see a little bit of a gradient here. We're going to see those upper 50s towards the western parts of the southeast and those low 40s and maybe some upper 30s isolated. But we're going to see 43 tonight in Tampa, maybe even upper 30s down as far south as Orlando. So that chilly air is still here to stay for at least a little longer, but it will quickly begin to transition to more of those spring-like temperatures during the day. As you see here tomorrow, Shreveport seeing in those low 80s, New Orleans as well seeing 76 in those lower 70s to 60s as you get too farther to the Atlantic coast. So lots of transitions going on between winter and spring. You can't really tell which is which right now. I said yesterday, like maybe we're in fake spring where we're starting to still see some winter weather going around, but you know, you're still getting those warmer temperatures, some even knocking on record breaking. And across the national, we're kind of seeing a lot of that as well. We had above average temperatures last week. Now we're seeing a similar gradient to last night when I was on doing the national. So we had a wave of really cold temperatures, and that is still here. It's like a troughing going on of cold temperatures. And then right underneath it, we have some more mild temperatures all the way down in Texas. We're seeing those 70s. So it's very, very warm going into the United States. And looking at the radar, we have some few showers going into the plains. We even have a low pressure system going out into California, bringing some rain into those areas. And many of us are seeing a lot of rain in the same place. See, it's not a whole lot of movement going on in the last several hours, meaning a lot of the same places are getting a lot of heavy rain, which is going to be a flooding threat for much of those in the California and Oregon coastline up off of the Pacific Northwest. However, we will watch some other warnings due to all of that rain and snow. In those upper elevations, we do have winter weather advisories and warnings in those purples and pinks, and also a lot of high wind advisories due to that low pressure system. So wind gusts above 40 miles per hour, consistent, not even gusts, but persistent winds over 40 miles per hour are expected in those regions, which is going to be a little concerning for those areas. But we're also watching a clipper across Canada into the northern United States. So here is the spinning little cinnamon roll you see here. That's the low pressure system. Right underneath it, you have the front, and that's where you're seeing some winter weather coming into Wisconsin and northern Michigan, where some can expect over 2 inches of snow going into tonight and tomorrow. And that's why we have some winter weather advisories and warnings in place for those areas. Even across Lake Superior, we have some blowing snow advisories. So there is definitely a lot of wind and a lot of heavy snow anticipated into these regions for the next 12 to 24 hours. But then also for the rest of the country, because we're staying so dry and we have wind in place, we're still many of us under red flag warnings in the hot pink here. So because of that, there's a lot of elevated fire danger across the country. Humidity is critically low for many of us. Usually the criteria is below 20% humidity and wind gusts over 20 miles per hour. And of course, when you have all those ingredients together, the slightest spark can turn something small fire into something more catastrophic. So we really need to take fire danger seriously in these areas. And even though those that are not in a red flag warning, most of the southeast has been so dry in such a deficit of rain that we need to be concerned about elevated fire danger, especially right now with those really dry dew points. It's not really windy per se to have it spread, which is why we're not under a red flag warning. However, it is enough to be able to start something that can grow extremely quickly. So even though it's not here on the board, it's still something to watch. However, North Florida and South Georgia parts tonight are under a freeze warning. Those temperatures are still going to stay isolated into below freezing temperatures for several hours overnight tonight. So we can anticipate that as well. And going up north, as that clipper begins to move its way east, we will have a winter storm advisory, or excuse me, winter weather advisory. We can expect 1 to 3 inches of snow in these locations. But into the next couple of days, we can see that clipper making its way into New England, off into the Atlantic. Those out west are going to continue to see that rain and snow from that low pressure system, and even some rain off into the plains as well. So we're going to expect a little bit of snow showers and light showers as well. Heavier rain seen as that low pressure starts to form off the East Coast, turning into a front here this weekend, but thankfully not a big severe weather threat, just a rainmaker for much of these systems going across the U.S. this week, as the SPC for the next 2 days has a non-severe outlook. So just anticipate some light to heavy showers going into the late parts of your work week. And for tonight, we're going to see those temperatures. What a gradient, guys. We got 9 degrees in Bismarck, 57 in Dallas, even seeing 49 down in Miami. So very much cooler, below average, I would say, for much of us tonight. But for tomorrow, we're going to ramp right back up and feel like cold weather isn't even here per se. We see San Antonio 89 as a potential high tomorrow, and even 50 up in Seattle. So we're staying pretty mild over here, very hot down in the south, and then of course our really, really cold temperatures to the north. So we have quite the gradient going on across the country. And again, those temperatures are going to stay above average. That's going to be the trend for the next couple of weeks for pretty much all of us, except for Maine, if you're a little lucky living all the way up there. But much of us are going to begin to see a springtime warm up. So get ready for that. I wouldn't say exactly put away all of your winter gear, but it probably would be a good idea to start packing some things away. But before we head out, I want to share our Sky of the Week shared by my friend Jordan, who is now in California. She hiked to the Santa Cruz Mountains out in California, and this beautiful view of just the clouds and the mountains. It's just awesome. So thank you, Jordan, for sharing your Sky of the Week. And if any of you are interested, send in your favorite picture of the sky or any weather event from this past week. And if you're able to submit it to @FSU Weather Instagram or at @StreetyWX, which is my Instagram account since I run Sky of the Week, you can send us your pictures on any social media platform that you find us on, and make sure to provide your name, location, and time when submitting. And the best photo will be chosen and featured into next week's Tuesday show. So very exciting stuff, guys, especially as severe weather season comes up. Make sure to keep the lookout for that. But for the week ahead, we got, again, that chances of rain into Thursday and Friday. Those spring-like temperatures for your highs, seeing those low to mid-70s creeping back in. And as we have our sunshine going into the weekend, knocking on the door of 80 once again. So that springtime air is back again. But I hope you all have a great night. This has been student meteorologist Daniela Streety. But before we leave, got a little ahead of myself. Make sure to follow us on X @FSU Weather and like us on Facebook. And also, we also have Instagram. Make sure to go follow us there at FSU Weather. Post a few reels there every now and then. But also subscribe if you're watching here at FSU Weather. And last but not least, follow us on TikTok at FSU Weather. Now, here is your last look at the 7-day.